is a
Alex,
2022 Hyundai.
we're out of bread. Can you go to the store real quick?
Real quick. Throughout human history, just about every form of industry has been fueled by a relentless desire to one-up the competition, and if ever there was a picture-perfect example of this, it was the American muscle car. While the true origin is trivial, the so-called muscle car craze undoubtedly picked up steam with the Pontiac GTO, a simple Le Mans coupe outfitted with a big, brawny V8. Up until then, car manufacturers were scrambling to find what the up-and-coming American youth of the 60s wanted in a car. Comfort? Handling? No. They wanted power. A political period emblazoned with ideological revolutions and revolt. It's no wonder the new generation craved powerful, fast cars to express themselves. And Detroit obliged, spiraling into an endless cycle of bigger and bigger motors, faster and faster cars, more and more power. Gran Torino, Dart, Charger, 442, Chevelle, Challenger, GTO Judge, Cougar Eliminator, Rebel Machine, and the list went on until political title shifts in the mid-1970s brought about a fuel crisis that would shut the doors on the golden era of muscle cars. The legendary Pontiac GTO badge would lie in wait for decades. So, why am I saying all this? The last gen GTO was a rebadged Australian car with distinctly European interior styling and modernized independent rear suspension. You probably already knew this clicking on the video. So what ties this badge-engineered parts bin car to the aforementioned golden era of muscle cars? Nothing. That's not what this car is, and that's why it was a sales flop. Let's be clear, this was an attempt to capitalize on a growing trend of resurging early 2000s muscle car tributes, and in the most corporate way possible, rebadging. And guess what? It didn't work. Pontiac took a blow to the gut with only around 41,000 sold in 3 years. GTO spent its entire lifespan critiqued in comparison to the success of the retro Mustang and Chevrolet Camaro until it faded from public attention altogether. So there, this ain't a muscle car. It didn't win over the old school Pontiac guys who wanted their 1960s back, and yet, if you look at the play bar in this video, you'll see it's not over. I'm so tired of seeing review after review of people harping over what the GTO isn't and how it failed to capture the muscle car vibe it intended, and then just ending their video. So I've paid reverence to the muscle car era in this script, and I've clarified the honest truth that this isn't part of it. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about what the last gen GTO actually is, and why you should care. Press the unlock button and the car honks twice. Open the wide swinging door by the plastic handle and you're greeted with a decidedly early 2000s interior, full of materials and varied quality. A faux aluminum plastic bezel surrounds the console, while questionable Alcantara lines the door panel. Forget design cohesiveness, this is early 2000s GM. Seat yourself comfortably in a wide bucket seat and press your foot against the aluminum cool guy race car clutch pedal. You find it stiff but not painful, and with a fairly long travel. Turn the gigantic key and the little starter nearly chokes, spinning the 6-liter LS2 to life. Suddenly you feel 8 cylinders pushing and pulling with a depth of power inside them. You cautiously move the tractor-like T56 into first gear. Oh jeez, is this going to be okay? Will I be able to drive it smoothly? Will I end up in some ditch waiting on an insurance claim? Just lift your clutch foot, give it a little bit of gas, and it rolls. On to second, same thing. It's not fighting you at all. In fact, it feels easy. You see, despite the specs figures and intimidating nature of a 2-door manual V8, the GTO is friendly. It doesn't stall easily, it's comfortable to sit in, and its low-end torque pulls it along with minimal effort. Shift at 2,000 RPM if you want. The LS2 doesn't care, it just pulls along. Even when turning it just above idle while going up a hill. Take it to work, take it to the grocery store. It drives fine. And the seating is comfortable, even for long drives. Get on the highway in 6 and the car cruises along at 1,800 RPM, purring like a cat, while still holding enough torque in reserve to climb the occasional hill. The focus of the GTO isn't power amount, but power availability. And that's why I say this isn't a muscle car. It's a Grand Tourer. Yep, believe it or not, this big burly coupe wearing the name of an iconic raw muscle car is actually a pretty refined highway cruiser at its best when you're about an hour or so into a trip watching the lane markers roll by. It tracks arrows straight, has tons of visibility, and you can easily roll the windows down without major buffeting. Sure, it's far from luxurious, but it's comfortable. When I bought the car, I had to drive 9 hours back home, and it never messed up my back or made me feel car sick. And when the roads get rougher, it doesn't go crazy like a high-strung sports car. Now, steering is a bit overboosted, and this is most noticeable at speeds above 20 and below 60 miles per hour. But once you hit around 65, the steering wheel feels much more confident and direct, while still being light. I personally prefer heavy steering, but I get along very well with the GTO at highway speeds. The suspension is reasonably flat in turns without becoming a jackhammer on bumps. I dailied it, and it can be a great daily driver, but it is thirsty. These cars were given an EPA rating of 17 city, 29 highway. No, more like 15 city and 22 highway. The 6-liter LS motor in this car is far closer to a vintage small block 350 than modern double overhead cam motors with variable timing and direct injection. This is old tech in a newer body. It doesn't care if you're light-footing the throttle, it drinks up on gas regardless. Sure, you can hypermile it, but honestly, why would you buy a V8 coupe if you want to prioritize max MPG? It's going to be what it's going to be, and my best advice is to smile when you're driving and maybe look away at the pump. This ain't an eco-minded vehicle, and maintaining it, suspension bushings will eventually say peace out, the drive shaft bearings are notorious for failing, the headliner sags, and there's even a rubber hose going over the headers that you'll need to replace with steel, or the car could catch fire. But is it worth it? Is it fun? Gee, I don't know. Does this look fun to you? Remember how I said the GTO was a nice, friendly car? Well, what kind of friend doesn't like to have fun? Yeah, the GTO is here for that. Stomp the throttle and it roars. You want speed? Okay, let's have some speed. Maybe you need to pass someone on the highway. Maybe you're late for work. Hell, maybe you're just bored. No problem. 3,000 RPM, 2,000 RPM, whatever. Torque is always there, always waiting and ready to push you into the power. And 4,000 RPM is where the magic happens. It may drive like a regular car on the road, but it just takes one shift and one kick to be reminded that this ain't your grandma's Sunfire. The T56 is long and tall, giving the GTO highway legs and helping it up to a claimed top speed of 175 miles per hour. But I only drive at the speed limit. Yeah. And here's the kicker. This car is easy to drive hard. Throw it in a turn and it tells you all the way when you're about to lose grip. And when you finally do, it slides gracefully, patiently letting you correct and continue. Yeah, you can lose it, but in dry weather on decent tires, you've honestly got to be pretty careless to go that far. The car doesn't fight you, it just wants to have a good time, and it will go as far as you'll take it. There are faster cars, there are better cars, and there are smoother cars, but the GTO has an amazingly playful and sincere disposition, truly bringing out the bond between car and driver as a sports car should. Everyone wants to wax poetic over the rebellious stallion that can only be tamed by the best of riders with the strongest skills. But is there something to be said for the reliable workhorse who can sprint when told to without trying to throw its rider off in defiance? A relationship of synergy over conquest? Of cooperation over domination? Yeah, I think there is. That's a damn good horse. So, should you buy a GTO? Well, what are you looking for? Do you want a super tight handling corner carver? This ain't it. Do you want to brag to your friends about power numbers? Nope. You want a relatively inexpensive V8 powered sports coupe with great road manners and an attitude that puts a smile on your face when you give it some gas? Then yeah, you might want a GTO after all. So find one, drive one, and see for yourself. And when some random clown comes up foaming at the mouth with "That's not a real muscle car," you can say, "I know. and smile as you blast off on a highway cruise home with your new friend. Woo! Copyright strike that!